Okay, so today we are going to add color to our Zentangles. And it's okay if you did not finish your Zentangle last time. You'll be able to put Sharpie or crayon right over the top of the color that we're gonna add today. Or you can watch the video and you can always add color to it later if you want to. So what we're going to do is use this styrofoam plate. These are so easy to get, and you can, this is another great recycling project because you could, a lot of times when you go to restaurants, you get these styrofoam containers to take your leftovers home. So you could cut that into a square or a rectangle or whatever shape you want, and you can use this for printmaking. So today what we're doing is something called printmaking. This styrofoam plate is going to be our printing plate, and we're gonna use markers, just regular markers. You can't use permanent markers for this. And you're going to color the plate. Now, when you're coloring, you wanna make sure that you don't press too hard or you will start carving into it because it's just soft. The styrofoam is very soft. So you can color this however you want to. You can color a pattern, you can color it in shapes, you can color tie-dye, however you want to color it. Any colors that you want to use, kind of think about what colors you want to use to kind of go with your landscape or your design that you're doing. It's really up to you as the artist. And we're doing a plate that is smaller than our design because we are going to be doing a couple different designs with the printing plate. Whoops. So what I'm doing right now is coloring with the marker, and I'm just filling it in nice and thick, okay? And I'm just making mine very colorful. And the juicier the marker, the better this is gonna turn out. So you really wanna make sure that you're using markers that aren't too dried out for this part. Okay, so I'm just adding color, and I'm trying not to touch. You can see I'm sort of trying to touch the edge and not get my hands in the marker as much as possible because the marker will come off of the printing plate. That's really what you want to happen, but you don't want that to happen on your hand. Okay, so my last section here, and then I'm gonna show you how we're gonna add color. So first, color the whole plate, set that aside. Now I am going to wet my paper, okay? I'm gonna put just water in one section. So this printing plate is 1/4 of your paper. So you'll be able to fit 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. And you can change it every time, you can match it, you can try different techniques, whatever you wanna do. So now I'm just adding water to my piece of paper. The more water you have, the more your colors are gonna spread out. Think of it like watercolor. So if I put a whole bunch of water on here and make it, you know, really, really, really wet, the colors will spread out just like watercolor does. If you put just a little, you can see my brush wasn't all the way clean. Make sure you clean your brush all the way when you get it, because it might have been used before. If you just put a little bit of water, it might not have the color spread out as much. So it's up to you as the artist. Now I'm going to flip my plate over and line it up on the edges of the paper, and I'm just going to press down. Okay, and what I like to do is kind of peel it up and check and make sure. If I missed an area, which I did not, if I miss an area, you can put a little bit more water down. So I'm gonna show you that on the next one. Now I'm gonna move my paper off to the side, and I'm just gonna use a wipe. You could use a wet napkin or a wet paper towel, and I'm gonna wipe off all the extra. And then I'm gonna use a dry to dry it off before I put more color on here. Now, again, you could do a design if you wanted to. Maybe this time I'm going to draw a heart and have the colors expand from there. You could do stripes. You could do something that kind of goes with your landscape. So if you did a jungle landscape, maybe you're going to fill in your printing plate with flowers or leaves that match your project. It's totally up to you. But you're just adding color. So you want to fill in your whole printing plate, and you want to color it as neat as you can. Okay, I'm gonna move on to a new color now. And I'm just kind of expanding this design out from the center. And I'm gonna try to match my colors up. So whatever colors I used on the first one, I'm gonna try to use those again so that the colors kind of go together. You can do that. You can do it different every time. It's up to you. And you can see I'm kind of putting my marker on the side just so I can get a little bit thicker color. Be careful when you're holding this down. I'm gonna do some yellow over here, and then I'm gonna do each corner a little bit different. Be careful when you're holding this down because you could press hard, like especially if you have longer nails, you could indent the styrofoam, and if you indent the styrofoam, that is going to show up when you print, and you don't want that to happen. Okay, now I'm gonna color some pink over here, and you guys kind of get the picture. I'm not doing this the neatest that I could, but you're gonna get the picture. Now, remember that I'm gonna wet it in the next section, and then I'm going to print it. Now, I'm gonna show you what happens if you don't get water everywhere. So I'm gonna leave a little section and pretend like I accidentally missed that section. So I'm wetting the rest of it. 1/4 of my paper. Ooh, we're doing a little bit of math here. Okay, now I'm gonna show you what happens, and it's easy to fix. So now I'm going to print this, flip it over, press down. If you miss the edge of your paper a little bit, it's not a big deal. You can always add color there later. And see what happens, how there is a little color missing. So I'm gonna hold that in the same spot and try not to move it. And I'm going to put some water where I missed. Set it back down and just press again. Okay, and you can see it touches it up. You can always, if there's too much water, dab a little bit, okay? It's up to you. Now, the other really cool thing that you can do with printmaking with the styrofoam plates is you can carve them on purpose. Because they're soft, they will carve very easily just with a pencil, okay? So I am going to put a pattern in mine. You could draw, again, to go with whatever your landscape is. And look, it's a pencil that's not even sharp. You could draw Zentangles in here. Whatever design you want to do. I'm just going to do a really quick one for the video here. So I'm doing some dots, and I'm doing some stripes, sort of like a Zentangle. I'm just doing this really fast so that you can see on the video how this works. Now, once you carve this, there's no going back. It's always going to be carved now. So you have to kind of think about that. If you want to try carving it, you're stuck with that design forever and ever on here. Now, when I color, I don't want to get color into those grooves. So I'm coloring over the top of them, and that's why you see me putting my marker on the side, because I don't want to get them in the holes. I want those holes to stay white, basically. If it gets down in there a little bit, it's okay. So I'm coloring right over the top and making sure I don't get any color into those grooves. And like I said, I'm doing this really quickly. You're gonna take your time. I just don't want the video to be too long for you guys. Okay, now I'm gonna put my last color in there, and I'm gonna show you what happens when I print this. Now, at the bottom of my paper, I didn't finish my Zentangles. That's okay, I can go back and add more, but you're gonna see how this is going to show up now where I carved my printing plate. Like I said, if you carve it, there's no going back. Once you carve it, you're stuck with that design. That design is going to print every single time. So if you're not sure if you want to do a design, maybe print first and then try carving it later. All right, I wet my paper. I'm gonna flip it over, hold it down with one hand, and press with the other. Now you'll see, oops, I missed a little spot. Let's just put a little more water on there, no big deal. Press it again. Okay, So now you're gonna see where my lines where I carved them are. So it's almost like I have a Zentangle on top of a Zentangle. So you can do any kind of design you want to. This is your artwork, how you want to add color to this, and have some fun.